I told you I was going to be recording one of these, and so I have. Hello everybody, and welcome to the Terraverse Tours, Volume 2. As you can see here, we finally have a hardback copy of Book 2. And I have another thing I'd like to explain about the webcam. If you have watched any of my previous videos after I recently purchased a new webcam and noticed not too much of a change, I can explain that. You see, I've been plugging this webcam through a USB extension cord. Basically, it adds me an extra 6 feet so I can extend the webcam further and whatnot. It's not wireless; it's a wired USB cord. Webcam. So there is that issue. So when you plug it through an extension cord, it takes the data a little bit longer to go from the webcam to the PC. And another thing I was doing is I was plugging the USB port into the front of the PC, which is okay, but it's not optimal. What I learned is that if you plug the USB port into the back of your PC, right by the motherboard, you get the strongest connection possible. So that's what I'm doing right now. So if you know, we're gonna try that and see if there's no lag and whatnot, because any lag that you notice is not really the webcam's fault. It's the PC and its limited capabilities fault. This thing is a 2010, 2011 model PC. I explained that near the end of one of my car vlogs. So yeah, enough of that. I took 2 minutes explaining that. We're here for this. So let's get started with this. I haven't scripted any of this. I haven't scripted the last handful of my videos because I want these videos to feel real. I want them to feel like I'm not just reading off a screen or something like that. I want these to be the real words that I'm thinking off the top of my head right away. So that could be good, that could be bad, who knows. Let's take a look at this real quick. The first thing I want to note is that the cover, the picture, the image, all that has gone through the ink machine, the printer, and all that stuff perfectly. It has gone perfectly. Because as you can see with the previous book here, I have it right here on hand. As you can see here, one of the swords is missing. And that is an ink issue, because this other sword was a much darker one. And I think the printer couldn't identify the sword from the black background, so it just bled it into the regular black background instead of this. So what I changed with this is that I wanted this to be a little bit more brighter. I wanted the image to be brighter so that the printer would be able to identify this as standing out from the black background. So that helps. And as you can see here, the picture quality is also like 10 times better. You can see how on this screen it's a little bit brighter, the black is a little bit lighter, the eyes and the sword is a little bit more blurry, but on here it's a lot more crisp and clear. This isn't like an improvement to the ink and the printer quality, but also an improvement to the quality of the image. I think the DPI for this was 299. I went into my image editor and tried to get this as 350 DPI. So that might have helped it, but it really increased the file size. The higher DPI you put on these things will increase the size of your image, because I don't really know why. I use GIMP to do that, and basically anything more than like a 300 DPI is going to be like quite a few megabytes. I'm just gonna leave it at that. So that's as high as I'll be able to make it, but it seems to have gone in quite well. You see the eyes, you see the swords, the daggers, you see the chakram. So let's explain the cover real quick, because as I explained with this one, these eyes belong to our friend Sechel Sagnar, as well as the sword, and the other one that's missing on the paperback version. It's still there on the ebook version. But these swords belong to Setchel. So this is basically Setchel's introduction. We got Pike, we got Elisa, we've got the Duke, we've got all that in here as well. This is not just about Setchel, but it is at the same time. Because when you explain somebody's origins, you also have other people who stood out as well. So that's why I try to do it here. For this, you see the eyes, the daggers, the chakram. These are different set of eyes, so it's a different character. Well, that's what we see right here, Wrath of the Assassin. Well, this is about the assassin. This is the assassin's eyes. These are the assassin's weapons, the daggers, the chakram. I don't want to spoil everything of what's going on here, but if you look in the back of this book, you learn that the assassin's name was Hesh. So this is Hesh. This is Hesh's eyes, this is Hesh's daggers, this is Hesh's chakram. While he's not the main character, he shows up the second half, he has his own couple of chapters and whatnot. He's not the main character of this book, but as I like to do with these covers and these titles, is I want to make it a bit more deep than what you're seeing here. This is more than what you're looking at here. I try to explain that in my newsletters, and I'll be going into that a little bit more in depth in my next newsletter. So if you want to learn more of what these covers are about, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. I will have that in the link description below. Let's get started on taking a look inside. But first, let's take a look at the back. Oh, let's look at the spine first. It's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. This time, I aligned it quite well. I tried to align it with this. The image editor was working with me this time, so it was perfectly aligned there. Here, I tried to be as short to the point, because as you can see here, we've got quite a bit more lengthy stuff to talk about. I learned my lesson there. You don't want to explain too much here. You just want to put just enough to get you hungry to see what's going on here. So that's what I did here. I give you a quick explanation of what's the three main segments of this story, because we have technically three types of paths we're going down. We got the first immortal, Setchel Sagnar, we've got Hesh, and we've got a new character, which you're gonna which you'll meet in the book itself. His name is Tamaray, and you actually first met him in the first book. So if you read this all the way through, then you'll know what's going on there. But if you don't know who he is and you haven't read this yet, I'd recommend you read this first before you take into this, because this is like a direct sequel. Now let's take a look here. Pretty self-explanatory there. Noctitath Trilogy, Stories of the Terraverse, Book 2, Wrath of the Assassin. There's my name. I have another dedication page, but it's a short, sweet, and to the point one. You know, friends to family to happiness, those are the things that keep me going. I try to keep the preface short this time. It's only 2 pages. I listened to your feedback, and I did intend on making the first one a little bit longer, but the next ones are going to be shorter and shorter. This one had only 2 pages. I think the third one's only going to have 1 page. Probably even half a page. I don't know. But I just felt like I had to tell you a lot more in the first book to get you started, so to speak. But, yeah. This one has a much shorter preface, so you can get started right away in this one. We have an intro here. Again, it's only 2 pages. It just still comes back to take the mic from me. But yeah, that's a pretty good one. We have the map here. The alignment's a little bit off, but I could not change that without having any type of bleed through with the margins, so we'll see what we could do in the next one. But for now, that's how it looks. I have received some feedback that it's a bit harder to read this. And to my answer for that is I will be working on a new version of this map. I'll try to brighten it. I'll try to lighten it up so you can read what's going on. The DPI on this is 299. I cannot get it any higher than that without risking the file size to increase too much to the point where it actually it'll become a problem, basically. But for this, in the next one, I'll have a brighter version of that. But I can tell you that the map exists online. If you go to my Twitter page, if you go to my Facebook page, I have an image of the map there. And you can zoom in, it's clear, you got detail, and I know nobody wants to do that, but I can also tell you the ebook version has one of these. And you could zoom in on the ebook version and be able to read it pretty well there, too. So, there are other ways to get it. And the ebook version is quite cheaper. It's $3.99. So, this is $12.35. So, there you go. Keeping to the MO of the previous book, I have a flashback chapter here, and I'd like to explain what's going on here. These flashback chapters, I intentionally leave the year and the month unknown. I try to do that because I don't want to just say, millions of years ago, in an unknown age, a forgotten age, or something like that. This is basically just a long time ago, a flashback chapter involving Aleph and Albania. That's a shtick I'll be keeping up for the whole of Season 1, and I can explain and I can answer that the chronology of each of these flashbacks are going to be in order. For example, this flashback in this book happens before this one, but I do not specify how far before. It could be a couple of years ago, a couple of years previous, it could be a couple of months, the time skip could even be a century, who knows? I leave that ambiguous on purpose, so if you get curious and if you're confused, please ask questions, comment, do anything like that on my Twitter or anything like that, and I will answer you. So, there's that. And I tried to keep to my MO of having multiple prologues here. What the prologues are supposed to do is explain some of the background characters that do not appear in the main storyline, but they are just as important. Because these things are what are the actions that they're taking while this story is taking place. So, I might be able to change the prologue to something else, but for this trilogy, we're just calling it Prologue 1, 2, and 3. For the next trilogy, we might do something else, but either way, we have a lot of characters in this world, and in order to shorten it up, I just say, these are what these background characters are doing, this is the gist of what's going on with them, and then we're going right into the main story. Because if I tried to explain what everybody's doing at all times, keeping you following all of them, we'd have a 900-page book on our hands, and I don't want to do that. I already had a compromise on making it 300 pages each. So, it's only like a couple pages each. Another thing to explain here is that the chapters are a bit shorter in this one. I have a lot more chapters. And the reason behind that is that I have multiple sets of characters. At the end of one chapter, I might move to another set of characters. And that's why the chapters are a little bit shorter. In this one, I didn't have too many sets of characters. So if I changed perspectives in mid-chapter, I would just put a horizontal line and go from that next character's viewpoint. Here, if I'm going from one character on one side of the map to another character on the other side of the map, I'd have to make a completely different chapter, otherwise people are going to get confused. So that's why I have a lot more chapters in this book. And that actually kind of bumped up the page count. It is a little bit more pages, a few more pages, about 20, 15, 30 more pages. So, that's why I bumped up the price. I wanted to keep the royalties the same as I get for my ebooks. Makes sense, right? I don't want to make less money if you buy these in contrast to the ebooks, right? I want to make the same amount. I think that's understandable. We have an epilogue. We also have... Let me take a look at the back here, trying to find it. Here we go. We also have a sneak peek. I'm going to keep this MO of the sneak peeks for all my books. At the end of the book, you'll have a one-page summary, to be continued. You'll have the title. The title of book 3 is The Duke's Gambit. So, there you go for that. I also have a post note, whatever they call it. I have just one page here, so, in the next book I might have just one page as well, keeping it short and sweet to the point. We also have the cast, any major character that appears. We have a short description, we have their name, how to pronounce their name, the color of their eyes, because, you know me, I like to talk about the eyes, their race, and there's that. We also have a glossary, because I go over a lot of terms and races and names, places that are completely new terms to my series that you're not going to know. And if you ever get curious about what's a Zogamite, well, you can look in the back of the book here, and there's a glossary here explaining what this creature is. So even though I might have a brief explanation in the beginning of the book somewhere, wherever I mention it, I go over it in a bit more detail here, just so you can keep up. So if you ever feel like you're lost, or there's a term that you don't know, come back to this back of the book and read this. Find the term, and you'll be kept up to date. I'll be having one of these in every book. The thing that I won't be doing, however, is keep up all the key terms that were in this book. I'm not going to put all of them in this book as well. Only the ones that I mentioned, the new terms, are going to be in each progressing book. What this means is that I might have to eventually end up making a guidebook. So, there's that. We got about the author in the back here. I have 2 links this time instead of 1. I have the subscribe to my Terraverse newsletter. There's the link there. In the ebook version, this link will be clickable, and you'll be able to go right there. Same for here. That's my Twitter page, so if you ever wanted to follow me on Twitter or whatever, there's my link, because Twitter's pretty big. And I do try to comment and interact with anybody who tries to contact me, so I'm not this guy who doesn't follow you. If you follow me on Twitter, I will follow you back, more than likely, if your profile is viewable. If it's private, I'm not going to be able to find it, but I will be notified that somebody followed me at the very least. Short, sweet, to the point, 17 minutes, huh? Alright. That's a quick overview of Terraverse Wrath of the Assassin. I could do a short chapter read-through, but we're already at 17 minutes, so we'll do that later on. But that's your sneak peek into Book 2. That's how it's set up. And yeah, hopefully you get this one. They're both $3.99 in ebook format on Amazon. This one's a little bit more because it's a bit more beefy, as you can see here. You might not be able to. One of them is quite a bit more beefy. So, I'll try to move my finger. Come on. Fingers are messing up here. It's hard to look at the screen and look at my hands at the same time. But, just take my word for it. This one's a bit more beefier. And I get charged per page. So it's a cent more per page. That's why, I had to make the price a little bit higher than this one. The paperback's not going to have a static price like the mass market ones. Mass market makes them differently. Trade paperback per purchase has a different type of pricing. So you're charged per page, per manufacturer. So there's that. If you want a longer book, you'll be paying more for the paperback. So there you have it. Quick overview. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.